Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to talk about 3 ways to speed up your Shopify site that will improve your conversions, hopefully. So we're going to talk about the 3 main ways, and these are probably the easiest ways and most commonly used ways to improve your site speed. The first way is through optimizing your images. One way to optimize your images is to lazy load them, and I'm going to give you an example of how to do this. So here we have my store. We love veggies, and then at the very bottom of the page we have an image. And so what lazy loading does is it defers loading the image, the full size image, until the user scrolls to it. So only when I scroll to this specific section does the full size image load. Initially, when the page loaded, a placeholder image, preferably very low in file size, will be loaded. It kind of depends what you want and what kind of site you have. That will determine what type of a placeholder image you'll have. Some people prefer to have nothing here, no placeholder image, and for the image to appear, whereas others prefer a more low resolution type image, similar to medium.com as a placeholder image, and then when you scroll to it, then it converts to the full size high resolution image. So let me quickly show you an example of this. So if I load the page right now, so right now I'm using my, desktop PC, and Wi-Fi is quite fast. So when I scroll down, it will change quite quickly and you won't be able to see the transition. So let me first use the inspect tool to throttle the internet connection. So I'm going to make, where is it? Here. Yeah, I'm going to make this a mid-tier mobile. Let me make this, so the internet speed is like a mobile internet speed essentially. And then if I reload the page, you see it's loading a lot more slowly this time. And I scroll down, you'll see for a brief second there was the low resolution image, and then it converted to the high resolution image, which is what most e-commerce stores want. And this has a big benefit on page load time, because you load a very small file size initially when the page loads, and only when you scroll to it does the full size image appear. So if you do that for multiple images, you can save quite a lot of time. And as we know, reducing page load time results in better conversion rate. So let me quickly show you how to do this in the code. So here we have a lazy load theme. And if I go to my product template file and scroll down here, so here we have the image, the veggies image, and we're adding a class called lazy load, which comes from a library called lazy sizes that Shopify installs, I think, with almost every theme. And then you're going to add 2 attributes to the image element. First, you have the source, CRC, and here you're going to add the low resolution image. Typically, you want this to be, I would say, 10 to 20% the size of the full size image. So you can work out how big your image is, your initial image is, and then make the initial image that's loaded 10 to 20% smaller in size. You can specify that in the file image URL parameters. And for the data CRC attribute, you want to add the full size image. By doing this, this will enable your lazy loading functionality to work. So now we're going to go through the second way to optimize your site speed, and that's through optimizing your files. Now, Shopify has a lot of theme files that are loaded on your website, and within them is your CSS files, JavaScript files, and often when a site evolves, functionality is added and then removed. However, there's often always some code left behind from previous features, and having all this leftover code will reduce your site performance as your site has to load these bigger and bigger files. So ideally, we want to find all this unused CSS and JavaScript. And the way we can do that is using a tool on Google Chrome. So if you right click on the page and click inspect, and if we go to sources and then go to the coverage tab and then just reload the page, we will get a list of all the files being used and their usages. So we can see that we have 99.2% unused for this specific file. However, you should bear in mind that that's just for this specific page, and coverage is based on your session. So you want to go through every page on your website, and once you've done that, then you have an accurate representation of your unused CSS and JavaScript. So what you can do, you can click on one file, let's say a CSS file, and the red line shows the classes that are not being used. This doesn't mean you can delete them. This just means they're not being used at this specific moment in time. It could be the case where this code is used on certain screen sizes, or it's used when a certain functionality is enabled or running. So you shouldn't just go ahead and remove all the code that has a red line next to it. Ideally, you would need a software developer, to go through this and I do this refactoring for you if you're not very technically savvy. Alternatively, you can reach out to us. We have a file optimization service. We use a bit more of an advanced technique than this to find your unused CSS and JavaScript, but it's following a very similar type of, method. If you go to eStoreSpeedOptimization.com and select the file optimization service, and we can do this for you. And that's essentially how you can remove your unused CSS and JavaScript. The second way we can optimize our files is to load specific files for the page we're on. So right now we're on the home page. Let's say we go to the product page. Now we want to load only the JavaScript and CSS files for the product page. We don't want to load all the scripts for our home page and collection pages, and because that's just inefficient. So unfortunately, Shopify has set its theme files in such a way where it has one big file for everything. So you have a theme.css file, and it has all the CSS for the whole website, and that loads on every page, on the product page and the collection page and the home page. And that means your collection page and home page CSS has been loading onto your product page, which is quite inefficient. So ideally, when you first set up your theme, you should create a product.css file and a collection.css file, and the CSS file for your different, templates, and then only add the CSS and JavaScript for that page in their designated file. And then you can add a condition, a really simple condition, like let's say, where is it here? You can do like if template is equal to product, then load that CSS file. So I don't know, let's say, where is it? Yeah. So put this here. You can load product.css, and the same thing for your JavaScript file. You do that for all your different templates, and that will make it much more efficient, a much more efficient way to load your CSS and JavaScript files. So that's how you can load files for specific pages. Okay, so now we're going to minify our CSS and JavaScript files. And what this means is just, if we go to our theme.css file, you see it's 7,000 lines long. So what minification does is it removes all the spaces and it joins all of them together, so the code is on a few lines. And what this does is this reduces the size of the file, which makes it easier to load. That comes with a drawback of it's very hard to read and hard to make changes. So what I would recommend is actually backing up this file or backing up this entire theme. And when you want to make changes, then use the unminified version. And then when you're about to push your theme live, then minify your code. So I'm going to show you how to minify your code right now. So it's very simple. You just copy all your code, then use a minifier tool like cssminify.com, paste your CSS in, click minify, and then you'll get an output, and you just copy this, and you'll paste it into here, and you'll see now it's just the code in one line. You click save, and we do the same for our JavaScript file. We paste in here. Oops. And then we minify. And then we copy this and we paste it. We save, and then we're done. Now we've minified our code and our site is working as normal. Just it should be a little bit faster to load. Okay, perfect. So another way to improve your site speed is through app optimization, and this is where you check for apps that you might not be using. So you've downloaded in the past and you've uninstalled. However, their scripts and CSS files are still left over on your theme. And now, ideally, you should remove those, because if you keep them, then you're loading these files for no reason, and that's quite inefficient. So one way to detect app code that you're no longer using is going to your store and clicking on the inspect tool. And if you go to the network tab and reload the page, oops, here it is, yeah. So you'll see all the files that have been loaded onto your website, and you might notice there are some names that names of apps you don't quite recognize or that you haven't installed. So it could be, there's a Shopify review app here that you don't quite recognize, and you click it, that app doesn't look, I haven't downloaded that app, or I don't have that app downloaded, so why is their script appearing? And so then you can go and check in two different places. The first way to check is to check for your script tags. This is one way apps can add their scripts, and you can see a list of app scripts. And if you notice that there are some app scripts that aren't meant to be there, you need to contact the app and let them know that their scripts are still being added to your theme, even though you have removed the app. And then the second way you can optimize your apps is through loading apps that you use only on certain pages. So let's say if I go to my store here and I go to the product page, and then you see here I close the dev tools. Nope, I'm in the wrong theme, file optimization theme. And then you can see I have a review widget on my product page. However, I'm not using it on any other pages. So I'm loading the scripts for this review widget on every page I go to, which is quite inefficient. Ideally, we want to only load it on this specific product page because that's where we use it. So we can do that by going to our code. And I know that the script is added via the script tag. So I can see the script is here. And then if I go to theme.liquid, I can actually add some stuff. I already added it here. So my content for header is where the script tags are added. And then I've added a remove. So remove this script if the template or the page is not the product page. So if template is not product page, then add all the scripts from content to have a header, but remove the script since I'm not using it. And if it is the product page, else if it is the product page, then load all the scripts, which will include this one. And you can just copy the script into here, and that's it. And if you want to do multiple, you can add remove again to the end, and then add the next script. Okay, and that's all for the optimizations for today. I hope this helps you